Today we are going to explore something called meta arguments. So basically in Terraform we have these special arguments which gives you some kind of extra control to manage your resources. So let's say you are creating some resource and it gives you some extra uh, control over that. So let's say uh, you want to create um, 5 or 10 resources with the same configuration. So how you are going to do that? You don't have to write the entire block for each and every resource, right? So you can basically for that you can use either for each or count. And let's say uh, you want to create a policy only when a specific resource was created. Okay, for that we can use depends on. And then we have two more, which is called provider and lifecycle. So provider is basically like where we define like which cloud service we are using. So as of now, we are using AWS. So we are giving the AWS information there, like inside the provider. And then we have life cycle. So life cycle is basically like uh, it gives you a control, like where you can put some certain conditions with respect to your resources. Like so let's say you are creating a resource. Okay, for example, let's say you are creating some IAM policies. Okay, and you only want to follow a specific naming format there. Or let's say the like the length should be this much only. Or let's say uh, it should only contain these characters, or it should contain only this specific keyword. So you can put these condition uh, in your resource block using lifecycle. So let's start with the depends on first. So let me go to the editor and let's create a new folder here called meta rgs. Okay, so we will start with depends on first. So as I mentioned, like depends on is like when you want to create a specific resource only when some other resource was created or some other block was executed. Okay, so for this we will start with let's say we want to create mm, okay, so let's say we want to create some S3 bucket. Okay, and then we want to create some policies around it only when the bucket creation was successful. Okay, so let's start with that, and we can start to mention the provider name. So we have to give it as AWS. Okay, and so we are using a region called US East one. Okay, so this is our provider, and then we are going to create an S3 bucket, right? So let's create uh, one for that. Okay, so we can name AWS S3 bucket, and we can name it let's name it our meta args S3. Okay, and inside that we can give the bucket name. So let's name it let's give it name meta args S3 creation. Okay, so anyway we are going to delete it, so that's why I'm using this name. Okay, and also like we only have to use a certain format there, right? Underscore is not allowed, so I'm just using that. So once we are done with creation of S3 bucket, we want to create some policies around it. Okay, only when this bucket was created, then only we will create some policies. Okay, so let's do that. So AWS IAM policies. Okay, policy, and we can name it as uh, meta args policy. Okay, and it should contain some name, so I'll give it name. I'll just copy this. Okay, args, and then I'll give some description. So I'll write test policy, or let's say depends on. Okay, and okay. Now we have to attach some policies as well there, right? So basically, policies are like we create the policies in JSON format. So for that we have this function called JSON encode, and inside that we can pass our JSON. Okay, and so we have to provide some version. Okay, all right. So let me give it the version 2.10.17. Okay, and statement. Okay, so you can ignore this part. I mean, it's just I'm creating some policy here. So the statement. So it here we'll have to provide the action, like what sort of action this policy will allow. So let's give S3 list bucket. Okay. All right, and effect. So it will allow, and then resource will be AWS S3 bucket dot meta. Yeah, just this one. Okay, and this is this. Expected a comma to mark the beginning of the new item. Hmm. Okay, sorry, I miss. It should be inside curly braces. Okay, so let me format it. All right. So till here everything is okay. Like we are creating one AWS S3. We are creating some S3 bucket and we are creating some policy. So we have defined everything here. Okay, we have defined both of our service, both are our resources. Okay, now uh, what we want to create, or we want to add this additional functionality which is called depends on. So depends on basically will allow, will say, okay, this resource will depend on the mentioned resource here. So I created this. So I mentioned AWS S3 bucket meta args S3. So it is going to create meta args S3 only when we successfully create AWS S3 bucket. Okay. So let me open the terminal and let me go send meta args, clear this, and let's say Terraform. Okay. Init. Okay, let's verify our Terraform format, Terraform validate. Okay, let's see. Parameter string required. All right, yeah. So like there was some issue, like I forgot to do the proper formatting of it, and it was throwing some error there. So I just fixed it. Okay, so I just ran the Terraform plan, and let's check the log, like what actually it's going to do. And if you scroll up, so it says like 2 to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. So as we can see here, it's going. Let's run the Terraform, apply, and let's see what happens. So I'll say yes, and right. So are we missing something? Depends on .tf. uh, Creating S3 bucket, operation error. This bucket is not valid, is not valid. meta args s3 creation. Okay, let me try with a different name. So I just copy pasted a different name. Okay, and I'll just run Terraform plan. Okay, Terraform apply. I'll say yes. Okay, so it's creating something. Bucket creation is there. Okay, so it says apply done, resource 2 created, 0 changes. Okay, let's go to our S3 and then we have to open the IAM role. Okay, so as you can see, the bucket has been created, and if I go here and go to the policies, so basically I have to search for this policy. So I'll search for the policy name. So as you can see, it created the policy, and let's check like what all service it gave. Okay, so all right, so like whatever policy we created, it's showing here. So let me open it, and policy version, new one. Okay, it's new only. Okay, list buckets. All right, so if I go to the JSON, we can see statement action is there, effect allow, and then the bucket name. Okay, and then the version. All right, okay, so I have destroyed both of the resources. Now let me clear it first, and I have made some changes in the code, like basically change the sequence of the code and added one more resource to create a S3 bucket. Okay, and I have updated the dependency to like the policy will be created only after successful creation of S3 one. So now we have three different resources to create, and basis of this we can verify like how depends on is working. So basically it should be working, the IAM policy should be creating only after creation of S3 one. Okay, so let's quickly and let me go here and refresh it. So right now we don't have anything here, so we don't have any policies with this name. Okay, so I'm just going to run Terraform apply. Okay, and let's see, and I have included some output statement there as well. So we will get to know like what is the execution of creation. So it's creating S3 one and S3. It's creating them. Okay, let's see. So it okay. So interesting thing. So although I got some syntax error here, but as you can see, like it successfully created the S3 first, and then it went into the creation of the policies. Okay, so this is how it works. So if I go here and filter the so this one is not created, so we got some syntax error there. So if I go here, both of the buckets are there, right? So this is how it works, like it depends on the policy, uh, depends on the resource, and it will create the resource only after successful creation of the depends on resource. Okay, so if so I think that was all to understand how depends on works, and in the next one we'll probably focus on for each or count. Thank you.